Hi, welcome to this evening's talk where I'm going to talk about the Age of Aquarius and the influence of the incoming seventh ray. I just thought it was time to revisit these ideas to see where we are now and where we're heading and the different influences that I think are really playing out in the world, especially at the moment. So we're in a transition phase. The Piscean Age is still with us to about 2160, I think, 2160 AD. But the Aquarian Age is already coming in now. So there's a transition time where one is going out and one is going in. And this causes a lot of conflict and a lot of change. And is one of the reasons everything is being stirred up individually, but definitely in the world, because there are major changes that the Aquarian Age will bring to humanity, really positive changes, but we've got to get from where we are now to there. So just a little bit of a background on the Piscean Age, because it is still, the Piscean Age is still having an influence. So the Piscean Age was categorized by the sixth ray energy. Now, the sixth ray is the sixth ray of idealism and devotion. And this was why all the major religions have happened in the last 2,000 years or so, or they've come into being and into a presence in the world. But it was an age where truth was hidden and the life of the spirit descended into the depths and was concealed by the waters, symbolic of the emotions, of the earth, the physical body. And this was the prevalence of baptism and purification by water and cleansing of the soul toward a second rebirth. So Pisces very much symbolizes the dark night and the challenges of the material world, and the individual soul that is cleansed through renunciation into the resurrection of the new awareness. So you can start to see some of the themes of especially the Christian story coming through here. So it's highly sensitized, especially in the emotional nature, and centered around the solar plexus and the emotional desire nature. But it was the Piscean Age, we needed to develop the capacity to have ideals and to come together to put them into ideas. And so our mind needed to develop this capacity. And that's where the religions have come up with certain ideals, and brought to man a new way of living. And this is where we had the birth of Christianity, and we had the birth of all the other major religions. And the idea in the Piscean Age was that man would orientate toward more spiritual values. And this capacity for abstraction and the expression of the idealistic nature of man. So we're still seeing this idealistic nature of man in the conflicts of ideals, the conflicts of values in the world, and even this idealism taken to extreme devotion, because remember it's idealism and devotion in terms of fanaticism. And this is what part of the cleansing, why we're seeing so many fanatical movements, and even the rise of terrorism in the world as part of this solar plexus collective issues that we need to deal with as a humankind and come through in the Age of Aquarius. It's also been a time where there's been a real conflict around power. We had, say, in the church, for example, much of our history has been dominated by the conflict between the divine laws of nature versus the sort of power institution of the church. And that is still having its effect in many parts of the world now. So the Aquarian Age has a completely different energy. It's an air sign. Pisces was a water, very emotional sign. It's an air sign that lifts us up into the mind and thought. Aquarius governs the breath, and the breath connects us all and is common to us all. So this is part of the theme of Aquarius, is coming together in a commonality. It's said it will be the age of enlightenment. The idea is the light on in the mind, and the emergence in the human mind from the darkness of ignorance into the light of truth. But this is a slow process. The Aquarian Age is not predicted to reach its sort of zenith for about another 1,000 years. So we've still got a lot of work to do till everybody has reached that sort of level of enlightenment. So it's a sign of man, of humanity, and especially of man recognizing his brotherhood, so that his fellow men are his brothers and his sisters, has the themes of unity and vision, cooperation and synthesis, and a mental detachment from the world where we're governed by the astral nature of our emotions. But there's also going to be a simultaneous, we're going to learn to express not just the conscious mind, but the unconscious and the superconscious mind. There's going to be a realization gradually that all people are one and there's no distinction. We're all brothers and sisters together, no distinction by race, creed, sex, color, family, nation. There's going to be a development of impersonal love and service rather than personal love and service. Perhaps people now love and service to those that are dear to them, to their family, to their immediate community. But the idea of world service and is starting to emerge, especially as our world gets smaller and comes together with the increased communication we have and the development of the internet and the communication and the instant communication is very much an Aquarian seventh ray development. And so the world is getting smaller and we're starting to become able to be in touch with more and more like-minded people in the world. So Aquarius means the cup bearer, aqua, the water, and it's the water of life poured forth for thirsty men. But it's not water as in water from the earth, it's water in the form of knowledge and the revelation of truth. And this water of life is said to be the celestial fluid or the etheric force. And this is a huge part of the understanding coming in on the seventh ray, and the understanding that will come in with the age of Aquarius is that through etheric substance, the solar energy or the prana is radiated throughout the solar system and interpenetrates all physical life, every physical substance. And so this weaves the solar system into a single entity and makes us aware of our oneness and our connection. So at a physical level, a physical awareness, we are separate. But when we move into the realm of the etheric energy body, we start to experience and know our connection and our oneness with all living things. And this, like I've talked to you in previous talks and talks on light and sound healing recently, this is starting, science is starting to accept, explore and measure the etheric body. I think the concept of chakras are a little way off being accepted by the majority, but certainly the idea that there is an energy that is affecting the physical is coming into play with our Western science and our Western medical understanding. Slowly, but that will develop into the age of Aquarius. Eventually, I said to you a couple of sessions ago that we will no longer operate and have physical surgery on the body. We will start operating surgically in the energy field, and there will become psychic surgery. We'll start healing through vibration and through energy. And this is starting, physics is starting to talk this language now. The Age of Aquarius is what brought in the Renaissance after the Dark Ages, and it brought the birth of science. Remember, it's mind and thought, a lighter air lifting up into the mind, and it brought the discovery of new worlds. It created the exploration deep into the understanding of matter, of our planet, of our solar system, advances in astronomy and our understanding of astronomy and the natural world. And it's no coincidence that the sole ruler of Aquarius was discovered in 1781, and that was Uranus. And under Uranus, Uranus has the energy of an awakening, okay? Awakening to revolutionize, especially our spiritual and material way of life, and to bring these together. And this is by raising the human spirit. The Dark Ages were like a time where the human spirit was in a long sleep, and this energy brought that spirit back into conscious awareness. And starting increasingly, we will become aware of our divine origin and our divine destiny. So we've seen a rapid expansion and revolution in the field of thought. If you think about, it's not so long ago where everybody believed what was taught by the church, and then we had scientists like Darwin coming along with his theory of evolution, and then we've had the different astronomical theories, and then we've come into physics. We've had an explosion of an understanding of our mind, of psychology, of the human psyche. And this is all reasonably recent, and this is all coming in on the seventh ray energy and is the natural progress of the Age of Aquarius. So Aquarius governs growth, and all growth begins from within. So the Dark Ages were sort of like a time of ignorance when man was building strength, then to emerge from personal consciousness into greater truth in the Renaissance. And that's why we saw an explosive creative expression in art and music, and people really changed the way that they lived and what they believed. So this revelation of truth and expansion of consciousness is symbolic of Aquarius in the coming age, and this will continue. Okay, we're still in the early stages of this Aquarian energy, although because of the way things are escalating, I believe it's coming in quite quickly. And I also believe that much of this last year and the challenges we have faced have been all that needs healing brought to the surface by this increasing Aquarian energy, because it really has worldwide presented us very clearly with the things we need to sort individually in our lives and collectively as mankind. So this vast expansion of scientific understanding and knowledge has not been paralleled to date with the same expansion in spiritual understanding and knowledge and expansion. And so these two are out of balance. We've sort of become too material, too immersed in the material world and exploring the material world. Science has become the new religion, and our spiritual development is now out of balance, almost with our lower mind, our intellect. And this, I believe, is one of the reasons why more people are not finding what they're seeking for in life, in the material world, and they're starting to look for it elsewhere, and why there is an awakening in spiritual practices and spirituality, and we call it the New Age thinking, the human potential movement. All of this are the seeds of that starting to catch up in terms of the spiritual awakening and consciousness. So the seventh ray is the ray of ceremonial order and magic. Okay, when we talk about magic, we talk about the understanding between energy and matter and the manipulation of matter through thought energy. Okay, so you can think of magic as in magic in times gone by, and that was the beginnings. The current magic is our understanding of the creative power of thought, that we are creative, that our thought, that energy follows thought and has repercussions. And also magic is to spiritualize matter, to bring those higher vibrational frequencies down into matter and to understand that process. So the seventh ray governs the etheric body, and we will see an intensification of forces that we're able to take through our chakras, through our etheric body, as we catch up with this spiritual development. And we're already starting to see a mass interest in the disciplines and practices that work with the etheric body, from yoga, from Tai Chi, Qigong, to energy healing practices like homeopathy, using crystals, using sound, using light. We're starting to understand ourselves in terms of energy. And this is very seventh ray. And this will continue. And I look forward to it because I think it's exciting. I'm a seventh ray body, brain. So it's it's probably why I'm drawn to yoga and why I'm naturally see the world and experience the world in terms of energy. And to me, it just seems natural. But I understand that to a lot of people, these are new ideas. The seventh ray governs relationship and the consummation. It's a ray that expresses, it's because of the etheric body, the energy body is the body through which the soul is able to express. And the seventh ray is as we come to understand the etheric body, and as we come to increase our vibration and clear the chakras and lift these solar plexus issues and fears and doubts and emotional desire nature problems up into the higher centers, the heart, the throat, the ajna and above, we will start to have more soul expression. And the soul energy can pour forth through the etheric body. And this will make huge changes in the way that we understand healing. So the second ray of love wisdom is the main healing ray, but it works through the etheric body in coordination with the seventh ray. And the beautiful thing is that Aquarius, the two rays that come through Aquarius are the second ray of love wisdom and the seventh ray of ceremonial magic and order. So it's almost like the ordering. The seventh ray comes in and aligns things and orders them so that heart wisdom energy can work its magic. If that makes sense, how these two beautifully work together. And this, as we learn to lift from a predominance and the predominance of the world centered in their solar plexus, and more people open the heart and open the throat, we will see a change from more selfish desires to a desire to serve mankind, to serve the common good, to lift, to walk a spiritual path, to fulfill. The fulfillment is looked for in spiritual service and soul work rather than looked for from the material. And we will start to become aware of our relationships and our responsibilities to the whole, not just to our individual selves or our little family or our little isolated group, but we'll start to think in terms of the whole. And this is very Aquarian, okay? It's and the seventh ray also governs circulation. So the free circulation. So in the body, it's the circulation of the blood. In the mind, it's the circulation of ideas. And we take that out into the world. It's the free sharing and circulation of ideas, not the crystallization of ideals. These are our ideals and values, and these are our ideals and values, and we're going to conflict because they're different. In Aquarius, it'll be, let's share our ideals and values, and let's come to something that works for the whole. And so Aquarius very much is about group consciousness, moving from individual personal consciousness into impersonal group consciousness, and moving from conditional love to unconditional love for all, and really lifting our vibration. So the seventh ray rules meditation and the discipline of the mind that meditation brings, and the ability to step back from the control of the emotions that meditation brings. And you think meditation very much structures and orders our life. And I think of it as it's a ritual, it's a ceremony, it's something that we sit to do on a daily basis. It brings all of our vehicles, all parts of us into alignment, and it allows the magic to flow. It allows our full soul expression in the world. And this is why I think there is such an increase in interest in meditation, and people are seeking meditation, and it's become far more acceptable. Even 5 years ago, meditation was not nearly as commonplace or as acceptable as it is now. And I believe that will increase. And things like this pandemic have really taught people you can't find peace out there, so you have to look for it in here. And in that way, it's been a positive for many people. Now, one of the major developments of Aquarius and the seventh ray is the development of right human relations. Remember, I said that the seventh ray governs relationships, and Aquarius will increasingly bring us into, first of all, it helps to align the relationship between the personality and the soul. And there's that integration and coordination. The seventh ray governs the development and building of the Antakarana, that beautiful rainbow bridge between the personality and the soul. It helps to coordinate and integrate the personality so that it becomes a beautiful vehicle for the expression of soul energy out into the world. But it is also about right relations between the sexes. And a lot of the Piscean Age was bringing up some of the stuff in the solar plexus was coming from lower, and it was bringing up the power play that's involved in the relationships between men and women, between the sexes, and in sex itself, and the sexual physical union, the power play. And in Aquarius, that will move from an expression at the moment where it's not often a pure expression of soul love, but it will move to that. But we've got quite a long way to go on that one. And this is why we've seen so much power abuse of a sexual nature bubbling up to the surface now. It's becoming we're becoming more open and aware of it. It will bring right relations between nations, within communities, but also the other thing, that the right relations, it will bring us into an awareness of our role as custodians on this planet, of our role in helping to the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom and the mineral kingdom. And the seventh ray controls the mineral world, and the crystals especially are highly evolved aspects of the mineral world that have reached enlightenment and are radiating their pure soul energy. And through our understanding, as our understanding of crystals grows, we will eventually understand how crystals are interrelated with energy, how they are interrelated with our etheric energy and healing. And we will eventually use crystal energy as an energy source to power transport, to power interplanetary transport. And we're just starting to investigate the power of crystals, but this is something that will come in the future as we develop right relations and understanding with the mineral kingdom. The other, the Diva kingdom, the angelic realm, very much the seventh ray will bring increasing numbers of people able to reach and have communication with the Diva kingdom, with the angelic realm, and the transmission between our human kingdom and the angelic will become easier. And as that does, the higher intuitional knowledge from the Buddhic plane will be easier for us to pull through. So that amazing universal wisdom that we can increasingly, people, especially people who are very aligned through meditation, are able to pull through those insights. But once it becomes much more commonplace, of course, there'll be an explosion in knowledge and wisdom simultaneously all over the world as different people intuitively tune into new thought forms and ideas as we expand our minds, especially as we come into right relations and we start sharing and we start coming into instead of competing for resources, you know, and scientists competing for research funding, they'll start coming together, bringing great minds together. And this is when they talk about there'll be another renaissance. It's a wee while off yet, but they talk about the Golden Age of Aquarius. And this is where we will start to live in a way that I think many of us envision now. And that's, you know, by envisioning that now, we are directing thought energy in that direction and helping to bring that vision into being. They'll be developed with the Age of Aquarius. More people will develop what's called Etheric Vision. Okay, there'll be a change in our vision and we will be able to see some of the elementals, the fairy kingdoms, the fae, they'll open up dimensions that we can't see at the moment. We will start to see people's auras and their energies and see the interrelationship between living things, between people, between plants and people, and start, and my understanding is the way we see color, it's like at the moment we've got like a veil over the way that we see the world. And we will start to see the world as it is, and it will be much more vibrant in color than what we see now. We will see a change in attitude toward animals. When we realize we're custodians of the animal kingdom, it will revolutionize practices of slaughter and ill treatment and cruel sport. We're already seeing vast numbers of people objecting, increase in vegetarianism, and we'll see also a change as the sixth ray energy goes out and the seventh ray energy comes in. We'll see a change in the species of plants on the planet. And many of the flowers will move from more blues to violets, because the seventh ray is violet purple, is its vibrational frequency, the color when viewed through the eyes. So we're going to see a bringing together this synergy of the seventh ray. And it's got the power to organize and to integrate and to bring into synthetic relationship great pairs of opposites, because it works more with the sacral chakra. And so what we'll see initially is a more duality. And I even read that in the healing of our sexual relations, the relations between the sexes, we will see more marriages breaking up. We will see more separation of the way we used to come together, and we will see different partnerships forming. And I think we're already seeing that in our societies. Some of and a lot of these changes are the cause of the upheaval that we see in our world, and we will see increasing upheaval in education, in politics, in government, in spiritual practices, in religion. The seventh ray energy brings in more Christ consciousness. So this is not saying Christianity, this is saying the love wisdom or the full expression of the heart energy. And there'll be a tremendous inflow of this energy. And this will help to bring people together, to break down the competition and to bring that feeling of unity and wanting to work together for the common good. So in terms of our mind, there'll be more development. Just in summary, there'll be an increase in our mental activity and a more widespread education. And that education will be less focused on regurgitating things you've just learnt and by rote in your lower mind. We'll move up into educating children to think and use their higher mind, to open up to intuitional knowing. Exciting. They will develop new, they talk about a world religion. It's not a religion, it'll almost be a coming together of many faiths and finding their commonality. And we're already seeing this, almost a United Nations of faiths. And there are many movements toward this in the world already. It's interesting to realize that Aquarius is about increasing group consciousness and group work. So for example, the group meditation that we do is very much an Aquarian activity based on these new values that are coming in. But what we will see, what we need to understand is that seventh ray is working subtly in the background, because no group work is possible unless there is an ordering, okay, a coming together, an agreement, a coherence and a connection on a heart and a mind level. But also there's usually some form of ritual in a group. And this ritual brings the group into alignment. And this is the seventh ray working through groups. And that ritual brings a rhythm, okay? We will see new sciences of rituals and rhythms. We'll start to understand rituals that cleanse and protect the etheric body. We'll start to understand the energy interplay between people. The sixth ray very much produced separativeness because the mind had to develop, so it could develop and hold ideas and ideals. And this is where we get our drive to look after the individual, to develop the individual. And this will move in through this organizing power of the seventh ray toward less about the individual and more about my relations with others. Not just about me, but how do I fit in my community? How do I fit in the world? What can I do? These sort of ideas. There'll be more seventh ray souls coming into incarnation increasingly with this change in energy. As we understand the etheric body, we will start to understand more about electricity and the use of energy and the cohesion of energy. We will understand the vitality of mankind, and there will actually be a change in our physical bodies. Okay, our physical bodies will get much stronger. The immune system, we will have less disease, and it's predicted. At the moment, we have 2 strands of DNA, and scientists talk about there being 10 strands of rubbish DNA. Not at all. What will gradually happen is there will be, we will increasingly use those strands until eventually we will have human bodies that are like super bodies that live longer, that have a much more developed immune system, where the subtle energy flows, and they will use all 12 of those DNA strands. And from reading way outside of theosophy, I have read that this will open up communication with other galaxies, with other beings. This will enable us to communicate far wider than just our human family. So to me, this is all exciting. And I think what we do need to be aware, we are where we are now, and it's nice to think of where this age is going. But we got quite a long way to go with these things. But the key is to realize that the answers that we seek individually in terms of what is my part in this, what can I do, what's my path, they come from within. That our souls are all working together in a unity, and that the change and process that needs to happen will happen. But all change goes through that messy time when the old is leaving and the new is coming in, and you're in that time of conflict. And we are in that real, we've got two major energies, two major transitions coming head to head. And I believe this is why we are experiencing the world in such a negative way in many respects, but realize that underneath all the seeming chaos and the separativeness and the focus on the individual and me and mine, looking after me, that we see in the world, underneath that, all this subtle change is going on. And there are increasing numbers of people who are raising their vibration, who are lifting and healing that which is in the solar plexus and bringing it up into the heart. There is an increased awareness of the brotherhood of man. I mean, we even have terms in our language about oneness and unity that weren't there 10 years ago, where we're increasingly connected to these through these beautiful communication channels, and we can either use those to separate, or we can use those to come together. We can use the internet and social media to build, or we can use it to destroy. And that is an individual choice that we can make consciously. So the age of Aquarius is, like I said, it was said the Golden Age will be with us in about 1,000 years. I think many of us will look forward to reincarnating then, maybe. But we've got our part to play now. There's a reason why we're down here on Earth now, and that means we have a part to play in this. But I think it does help sometimes just to understand the bigger picture, to lift up out of the world of the media and what's happening to me today in the world today, and see this bigger picture and see where we are as a humankind and how far we've come. Even just on the last 2,000 years, look how far we've come, and where we're heading. That's only going to accelerate. There are more and more people lifting their consciousness, and we're now into the age of Aquarius, where it won't just be a few avatars who are filled with the Christ consciousness, who lift up into full enlightenment. There will be whole groups of people going through initiations that raise up into that level, and they will, if you like, pull the masses kicking and screaming into this new energy and into this new era. And so I think there is much to be hopeful about. And that's what I wanted this talk to be about, is to realize that there's lots of change about, there's lots that's positive that is coming, and there's lots of signs that we're moving in the right direction. Okay.